overlooking the very thing that God wants to multiply in you, because you're too busy looking at someone else's flask of oil. You're too busy looking how they're filling up all these oil jars and how they're going and multiplying, but God wants to do the same thing with you. He does.
When he placed my heart in your hands, so I call you my Lord.
Hi, my name is Miriam. I am a Christian content creator. Welcome back to my channel. I make content all about how to be the best version of yourself with Christ, and it's just my personal way of spreading the good news. And on today's video, I'm going to be going over jealousy, and just hopefully this message blesses you and it encourages you and also makes you see that this is just all a part of the journey, honestly. But I think we all struggle with jealousy. Some of us struggle with it a little bit more than others, but I know I personally have struggled with jealousy, and it is not a pretty thing. I feel like always comparing yourself to others or always feeling inadequate compared to others, it's such a horrible feeling, and I've been there, okay? I've been there, and I know that it doesn't feel pretty, but I'm hoping that this video helps you see it in a different light, and you can start your journey off with learning how to overcome it. Because although it is an emotion, it is a feeling, God will give you the strength to overcome even that. I think it's so easy to be looking at other people's lives. You can scroll and see that they're living their best lives. They're doing all these amazing things. Honestly, even at the church, you could see people and see that they're anointed, see that they're marrying, see that, their children are acting right. But you have to remember that the more you look at someone else's life, someone else's plate, you lose focus on the plate that God is preparing for you, because God is preparing your plate way different than he's preparing everyone else's. Their journey and their destiny and their calling has nothing to do with yours, and yours has nothing to do with theirs. So the way everything gets set up is always going to be different. So looking at someone else's life is just gonna keep your focus away from what God's trying to do in your own life. You were never meant to envy absolutely nobody. Comparison can sometimes blind you, and honestly, the worst part that sometimes we just see the best part in people. We don't see the journey behind what made the person. And you can get so focused at the end product that you don't realize that every single person that you see that has results that you wish you had to go through the same fire that you're going through right now. And not only that, they had to go through a fire that was going to refine them the way that they had to be refined for whatever it is God called them to do. God doesn't distribute gifts randomly. He knows what your calling is. He knows exactly what his purpose for you already is, which is why he is refining you the way he has to. Not the way you want to, but the way he has to, in order for you to get to exactly where he needs you to go. And jealousy can keep you so focused on someone else's blessing that you lose sight of the fact that God already placed something inside of you as well. Just because you're not doing the same thing as the person that you're looking at is doing doesn't mean that there isn't purpose in your own life. You wouldn't have been placed on this earth if there was no purpose for you to. You just need to find that purpose that God has specifically for you. There was like a season in my own personal life where I've always honestly dealt with envy and jealousy. I just always kind of felt like there's always someone better than me. I would always be very jealous in my relationships, even my friendships. I just always had that insecurity inside of me, feeling like someone was always going to steal my position. Someone was always going to steal my spotlight, pretty much. And it just was something that stemmed from childhood, always feeling like I was left out, always feeling like nobody chose me. So it wasn't something that I was doing on purpose or to hurt other people. It was just something that I didn't realize that I had rooted in my own personal heart. And I know some of you guys can relate to that. When I started to walk with Christ, I honestly was trying to break that, and I would really hate how I would feel about it. And it wasn't until there's like a season in my life that I started to really deal with it. And it was with someone that I really loved. I loved that person. Well, I love this person still to this day so much that when I started to see this person excel in areas that I wish I would have excelled at that moment, I started to feel very envious with this person. But I love this person so much, and I'm so glad that it happened, because I feel like God used this situation so I can see and I can reflect on what this really was to me. And I started to work on that part of myself. I wanted to be the person that rooted for this person. I wanted to be the one that would encourage this person, but I would actually go home crying sometimes because I was like, how are they succeeding and I'm not? Like, how are they like growing in ministry and I'm not? And it was just something that was hurting my own personal heart, but it was that envy and that jealousy that was stemming, and God was breaking that in that season. And although it was such a hurtful season, because I felt like I didn't cheer this person on as much as I wished I would have, I learned so much during that season. And I'm so glad it happened with this person again, because I had to deal with it. Like, I was not going to stop loving this person, and this person was not going to stop being in my life. They are my best friend. And during that season, God just really had me reflect that where they were going and the way they were getting formed was nowhere where I was going. And where I was going was nowhere where they were going. That doesn't mean they were going to be in my life. That just means that he was forming us in two different ways. He needed her to grow in this area while he needed me to heal from this area, you know? And so that helped me switch my perspective and heal that part of me. And I do have days where that envy tries to kick in, but I remind myself that God is doing exactly what he needs to do in my own personal life to refine me for his purpose. It has nothing to do with what I could do. It has everything to do with what he has for me. When you change your perspective on what God is trying to do with you, you'll begin to see everything so differently. You'll begin to see that God's trying to enhance your gifts, your calling, your talents. And it's not just something random that he placed in you, but something with purpose that he placed inside of you to grow, to make your own dream life, to make your own future. Because every single one of us are so different. Like, we have different visions, we have different dreams. If you go around asking people what their dream life looks like, I am pretty sure not any one of them is going to look exactly the same. So God's going to mold us to whatever it is that he has for us. Matthew 13:58, it says that God was not able to perform any miracles in his hometown. And it wasn't that God was limited. Jesus is not limited. God's power is not limited. It's that they limited him because of their lack of faith. The limitation didn't come from Jesus. The limitation came from the people. And that sometimes can happen within ourselves. It's not that God can't work on you. It's not that God can't work through you. It's just that we are limiting him with our disbelief of what he can do through us, what he can do for us. We are limiting his powers because we think that we're not adequate. But it's like, he didn't call us to be adequate. He didn't call us to be perfect. He called us to rely on him, that every single part of us that is weak, he will strengthen. That the calling that he has in our life has nothing to do with us and everything to do with him, which is why he puts certain things in our life so we can rely on his abilities, not our own. Because then who do we glorify, ourselves or him? And just remember this: God is able to do exceedingly God is able to do exceedingly and abundantly and above everything that you could ever imagine. It's literally in the Bible. No eyes, no ears has seen the things that God has for you guys. In 2 Kings chapter 4, there's a story about a widow. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard of it, but a widow that goes to prophet Elisha, and she asks him, well, she tells him, you know, like, they're trying to sell my sons as slaves. What can I do? And Elijah tells her that, what does she have in her house? And she says, I don't have anything except this jar of oil. And when I read that, I realized how much we can speak into ourselves like that. Like, I don't have anything. Like, I don't have anything at all. Like, I don't have nothing to offer, when it's like, yeah, you have your jar of oil at the house and you have your talents, you have your kindness, you have courage, you have fearlessness, you have things that other people wish they had. You have those certain things to spark that in others. And sometimes we can just literally stand and say we have nothing, but we have everything because it is God who gave it through us. I just told her to go and get all the jars from everybody so she can fill it up, so she can sell that. She went to all the neighbors, got the jars, and they were overfilling all the jars. They were like just filling it until the last drop. And every single one of those jars added up to even more than she could have expected. Not only was she able to pay off her debts, but her sons were not, bought off as slaves, and she was able to still provide for her family. And that's literally what God is trying to do with what he has placed inside of you. You think that it's nothing. You think that that talent, that business idea, that YouTube idea, whatever it is that God has placed in your heart, you think it's nothing, but God is trying to multiply that. He's trying to make that bigger than what you could ever imagine. What if you're overlooking the very thing that God wants to multiply in you? Because you're too busy looking at someone else's flask of oil. You're too busy looking how they're filling up all these oil jars and how they're they're going and multiplying, but God wants to do the same thing with you. He doesn't favor nobody. He wants you to also live in that. He wants you to also use your voice, use your talents, use that creativity, use whatever it is that He put inside of your heart to do, to go and multiply as well. But we can be so focused on what we don't have that we don't realize we already have everything that we need. We already have it. And if you haven't found it, then take your time to go to prayer. Take your time to ask God, what is it that you've already placed inside of me? Don't despise what seems small. Maybe that business idea is just still an idea, or maybe that talent, or maybe even making content like I do, it seems small, but it's like those are the very things God is trying to multiply. That very thing that you could be overlooking, He probably is trying to multiply. He's trying to grab it, hold of it, and multiply it in you. Maybe that business idea just looks like an idea, but eventually it'll be a 6-figure business. Maybe that content just looks like 1 or 2 views, but eventually you will hit millions and you'll be able to touch hearts. There are certain things that are happening right now in your life that you don't even realize. It is God's way of pruning you. It is God's way of preparing you for the things that He has for you. So you don't need to look to the left. You don't need to look to the right. At any time the enemy tries to lie to you about being jealous about someone else's plate, about being jealous of someone else's gifts, you remind yourself their calling has nothing to do with yours. And the very thing that God wants you to do is what He's going to use to multiply. He is a God that multiplied a loaf and fish to feed 5,000 people. Why wouldn't He be able to multiply the very gift that He has given you inside of you? So anytime that you begin to just envy anybody or feel jealous, just remind yourself that they are in their own personal journeys. And I know it's going to take some time because it also takes healing that root, right? But I hope this really did help you guys just see in a different perspective that envy and jealousy is nothing but looking at someone else's multiplication. But God wants to do the same thing to you. If anything, you should see it as a testimony. A testimony. If God was able to do it for them, He could do it for me. And if you see a beautiful marriage, if you see someone growing in the ministry, if you see someone growing in general, know that that can happen to you too. He doesn't favor anybody. You're not His favorite. They're not His favorite. He sent His one and only Son for absolutely everyone. You, me, them, whoever. So I hope this really did help you guys. I honestly just wanted to remind you guys that there is something already brewing inside of you that God wants to multiply. God wants that flask of oil to be surrendered to Him, and He does whatever He needs to do with it. You just have to trust that even the things that look small, even the things that look like you have nothing at all, are the very things that God's going to use for His glory. Just remember this one big thing out of everything. Absolutely everything you do, absolutely everything that you do is for Him, for His glory, which means the very things that you think seem meaningless are the very things that He will use to show His faith, His faithfulness, His love, His mercy. So anytime you think that they mean nothing, just know they mean everything, because He is trying to use you as a walking testimony of who He is. So those gifts, those ideas, those whatever it is you have inside of you that you think are meaningless are the very thing that He wants to use. Don't ever shortcome yourself. Don't ever compare yourself. Don't ever envy nobody, because you are your own person. And when you see what God is trying to do in you, when you see the person He's trying to mold you into, you'll never look to the left or right, because you will know that God has made you exactly what He has to make you, and you'll be content and happy. And it will take some time. Don't think that it is day overnight when you learn how to do these things or when you heal from these things. It is not. It takes time. So be gentle on yourself, and just when you have those thoughts, remind yourself, hopefully this message helped you guys and encouraged you girls, because I know it could be hard, but it is not impossible, and I can be a testimony to that. You guys, with this reflection of the week, what flask of oil has God already placed in you that you might be overlooking? And I just want you guys to take this to prayer and really ask God to help you see it, and from there on out, start focusing on it, whatever it may be. Maybe it's a business idea, maybe it's your singing, maybe you've been wanting to do content, maybe it's like just opening up a Bible study, whatever it may be. Like, what is it that you're overlooking in yourself? But I hope this video helped you girls. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.
Quiet strength, steady passion. When you lead, I feel no fear. I rest in God and I rest right here.